Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for day 9 of What Jesus Commands from Bythewell4God. Today I am kind of just working freeform. I don't really have any idea what I'm going to be doing, so I'm just flipping to my next page here, and off camera, there's quite a bit of scripture that was included on this day's devotional, so off camera I typed all of that up, and on one of those pages I typed it on some regular paper, and then the other I used the backside of one of the pattern papers that was kind of a neutral, and I just typed it, and I'm going to make kind of a little pocket with that page here in a few minutes. But first I want to work on the background, and so what I'm going to be doing here is using some Neocolor 2s. These are the water soluble ones, and some gesso. And just like you can use water to kind of liquefy the pigment from a Neocolor, you can also use something like gesso or matte medium or something that to get a different effect, and the gesso will just kind of mute down the color just a little bit. So I'm going to be kind of applying it heavy-handed a little bit with that in mind. So you can see I'm just scribbling it on here with some of the different colors, and on this side of the page I'm only doing the right side because the other part of it's going to be covered up with that pattern paper. So you can see here I'm just scribbling the color out, and I'm going to get some gesso on my very fancy paper plate paint palette, and I'm just going to take it, and I'm just kind of scrubbing it, and you can see it just kind of mutes it down, and I'll be able to kind of blend those colors together. So I'm starting with kind of this peachy salmon color, and then going into, I think this one is salmon, and then into the blue, and I'm just blending them in all together just to create a little bit of a background here. It's hard to, the colors are a little bit weird from my camera for some reason. I don't really know what happened there, but anyway, just getting a little gesso and then just blending it. And I can always come back if I feel like it's too light and add a little more color, which is what I did here. I had a little bit too much gesso, I think, on that first pass there. So you can just kind of keep tweaking it, and the gesso dries really fast, and I'm just kind of making sure that it blends okay with that piece of paper that's going to be laying over top of it. And then I'll do this same process on the other side, but on the full page. It's just a really easy process to do, and gives you a really nice soft background to work with. So I'm just kind of cleaning everything up here, and I will work on this page. This side I'm going to do the full page because it's not going to be covered up. I won't make you watch me do that, but this is what it looks like when it's finished. And the colors are kind of bright. I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing at this point. I kept some of this stuff in just because I think it's important to see the process. There's a lot of off the behind the scenes decision making and mistakes, and you'll see some of that. I left those in as well this time, just to kind of see that sometimes you just have to kind of keep working. So off camera there, I went and grabbed this rubber stamp that I have that is just an alpha, like a typed alpha, and I'm using my archival ink in black, and I purposely didn't make sure that it was completely inked up. I want dark spaces and lighter spaces, and then I ended up with that kind of heavy line there, which I'm not crazy about, but I will fix. And just putting this typewriter font all over the top part of the page on the left. I didn't do the bottom because I'm planning to stencil a typewriter down there using the typewriter stencil from Bythewell4God. And at this point I decided that black was just a little bit too black. There's too much contrast there. I wish I had kind of done a second generation stamping, but I didn't, so I'm going to fix that. I just took some gesso and I added some water, and just am making a wash, real light wash, and I'm just going to go over all of that stamping a little bit, just to knock back the intensity just a little bit. I would have probably been better off using like a gray ink, but this works for it. So I'm just kind of knocking that back just a little bit just to make it less intense. And now I have this stencil that came with the Bythewell4God kit, or well, you could buy it to coordinate. And I'm going to stencil. At this point, I was thinking I was going to use texture paste, but I ended up deciding to use distress ink. But on the right side, what I'm doing is I'm just going to go ahead and make this pocket out of this pattern paper. So it says I started out with a 6x8 paper, and so I just folded it kind of back on itself so that you could see that really beautiful floral image. And then I'm going to glue this down, but I'm creating a pocket, so I only glued the top and the bottom. So I'll be able to slide a prayer card in there. So and it has that little side peeking out on the right, which is why I did both sides with the Neo colors. So here I have taken a Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to take my stencil and one of those really soft makeup brushes, and I am stenciling just kind of tone on tone, just very subtle on this typewriter. And I end up not liking this at all. And so I don't know if there was like another color on my brush or something, but the color didn't come out true, and it just didn't come out the way that I was wanting it to be honest. And so I left all that in because eventually this typewriter is going to get covered up because I'm just not happy with it at all. But whenever I reach a point when I'm kind of journaling and I'm stuck, I just kind of try to keep moving. So at this point, I'm just going to tear out around the edges of that typed paper with the scripture. And you can see here I'm struggling with what to do because I'm not at all happy with that typewriter. So I decide that I'm going to take some pattern paper, and I'm looking through my stash here, and I found this one that really coordinates well with that piece of paper that's on the right. And I'm still trying to decide, how I want to do this. And so I thought maybe I would use this paper because it kind of also coordinates well and pulls in the yellow. But then I come back to this one, and then I've got the typewriters, and I'm just really trying to make a decision. I end up going with the typewriters because it has that whole theme. The scriptures are typewritten out and with the typewriter stamping in the back. So I'm just taking this page and I'm trimming it down. It's going to cover probably 3/4 of this page. My book is a 6x6 size here. So I'm just cutting that paper down, and I'm going to take it over to my cinch machine and punch the holes, and then use my scissors to open up those holes so I can slide this piece of paper over the binding. It's just a trick. Sometimes I work just up to the rings, and then sometimes I go ahead and punch it. There's no rhyme or reason to that, just personal preference. But because I had gone all the way across with the yellow, I decided I wanted to make sure to go all the way across with this pattern paper with the typewriters on it. So at this point, I'm liking this much better. I'm feeling much better about this. So, but I have this other scripture here that I've typed out on some white paper, and I want it to pop up off of the background because those typewriters are kind of busy. So I'm just using some paper that I had left over from another sheet. This is the paper that coordinates with the kit, and I'm just going to glue down this scripture. And I purposely only put glue kind of right in the center of that because I know I'm going to be tucking some things under, kind of between the layers there. So I just only put glue right in the center so that I'd be able to do that. Now I feel like I need something over here on the right side, and so I'm just going through and trying to pull out some things, some finishing touches, deciding on which card I want to put in that pocket. There's I know I'm going to want to write out a prayer, and so I'm picking out which of these cards, and so I end up using this prayer card, and I'll tuck that in the pocket. And then I need a place for my title, and I want a couple little just accent pieces, just really to pull both of these pages together. So I'm going through all of the ephemera from the kit and some of the printables that I had printed out. And I love this typewriter over here. I'm trying to make these two pages seem like they go together. So by pulling a typewriter over to the right, it just connects the two pages better, at least to the way that my brain works. So I have this typewriter that I'm going to leave over here on the right. And now I feel like I need to add some florals over on the left to kind of bring in some of the kind of match that top right corner, and also to bring over some more of the yellow, because there's so much yellow there on the right side, and just really make these pages look like they belong together. So whenever I'm working on my kits, I always save all of the little scrap pieces and things that I end up cutting apart. So they're kind of at the bottom. You can see tucked in, I have one of those journaling cards that it's just the bottom section of it, and I'll be able to tuck that behind there as a layering piece. So here, excuse me, I took one of those stickers from the kit and I put it on white paper to make sure that it will be able to stand out since they're on clear sticker paper, and I'm going to just tuck that behind the scripture, just kind of to create some interest in the layers. And then I'm going to take that piece that I had cut and I'm just going to make a cluster here, but I'm trying to figure out how best to layer all of this together. So I want to make sure I have as much of that yellow showing as I can, and then the card is yellow, so you can see, again, that's just the bottom section of one of the journaling cards. So I just was able to create this little layered effect with some bits and pieces that way. And now I am taking the labels that you can get that coordinate with the kit, and this is what I'm going to put my title on. I'm using the Tile Alphas, and I'm the yellow set here, and I'm just using some tweezers and putting the title for my day. I didn't use the title from the devotional. I just kind of was making a point, and so my title just says "By their fruit," but that was kind of the main point about this day's devotional, and so I just used that as a title instead of using the title from the actual devotional. So here I'm just gluing everything down now. I'd always kind of like to lay everything out and make sure I'm happy with it before I move on, and so I'm gluing this whole thing together as one piece. I'm going to add the title up here, again, that says "By their fruit." This is day 9, and then I'm just going to tuck the word day 9 here over by these typewriters. And I like to have that on every page just so I remember what part of the devotional I was working on. And then I'm gluing down the typewriter. Obviously, I only put it on the right side because that little flap is going to open up so that you can see the rest of the typewritten scripture. I did a huge chunk of scripture there, and so I'm just showing you there how it opens up. And I'm adding, for right now I have this bow clip. I'm going to end up changing that kind of at the end into a smaller paper clip, but for right now that's keeping that little flap closed. And I'm going to take this prayer card and write out my prayer, and then I'm going to tuck it in this little pocket that I created. And that pretty much wraps up my page. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions, feel free to post them below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Bye-bye.